It is October 17th, 2016. Welcome to another edition of the Gamers Archive. Sorry we have not been around for a while. There's been a little bit of issues on both sides of the spectrum, but I am here with Royal. We haven't
Hey,
been on. Yeah, hey, just hey. That's been
hey, whatever.
yeah, that's been a while. How are you?
I'm
Good.
alright. It's been alright, I guess. Whatever.
So how's the last few weeks been? Good.
How's that death in your family?
It's good. It's
Eh,
it's
yeah,
here.
man.
It's there. They're dead. They're not going anywhere. So.
Yeah, no real rush.
No, exactly. So everyone's good. There, we didn't have an intro to the video today, which is sad because it's generally always Tristan and Brackham from Monster Cat. But uh, that's for kind of the fun videos. This is kind of like the big sourpuss video um, that Brandon, you and I I've bitched to you about this for a better term. I bitched to you about this so many times already since the group stages all the way to the brackets. I mean, the group stages I love. But by the way, this is a League of Legends video. If you didn't already read the title, um, the group stages I thought were really awesome. Rocks Tigers, CLG in the same group, SKT Cloud9, RNG, Samsung TSM, and then like EDG, AHQ, H2K in a group. Group stages were great, but what in the hell is with these knockout stage groups? Now, this is not being like an NA fanboy, sour grapes, or anything, because an EU team has made it further than NA. To be quite frank, I hate both regions. If I had to pick a region that I truly liked through and through, it would be LPL, China, LCK Korea as well, like North America and Europe. I would just watch if it's a good game on, but I won't sit there and like watch it constantly. You don't even really watch too much anymore.
No, the last thing I remember watching was Dyrus crying.
At the
So
end of 2015 Worlds.
I absolutely loved it. I don't know if anyone else did that watches our videos, but if you did, make sure you fucking comment and say what you loved about it. Because I love that he bawled like a fucking bitch.
Yeah, Brandon is not a Dyrus fan. Well, technically you're not a TSM fan because you don't like double lift either.
No, no, they all think they're some fucking hot shit. How about you fucking win something really important and then you could fucking start acting like you're God Almighty yourself.
Well,
Okay?
the funny thing was TSM said that this year for Worlds they either place top four or it's a failure.
Mm,
They
yeah.
they
Wonder what
went
happened.
they went 3-3 and did not even make it out of their group stage.
Wonder what happened, Dan. What happened? What
Uh,
happened with TSM? Let everyone know. Let everyone know what happened.
well, it's the same thing that happens every year. They dominate they dominate LCS, and then when the time for the international tournament comes by, they get embarrassed, just like they did last year, the year before, or no, the year before they made it to the top eight, and they took one game off of I believe it was Samsung White. I believe they played Samsung White. Yes,
Too
they did.
bad that.
Yeah, they played Samsung White because Dandy kept camping top lane on Dyrus. His famous Hecarim.
Yeah, his Hecarim that he always plays, that he fucking plays really shittily. How you're gonna main a champion and just suck at it like so bad, you know? And everyone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna play Hecarim top like Dyrus. I want to just be like Dyrus." How about you just be yourself and not fucking follow the fucking popularity, of it? It sucks. Hecarim is not a top laner. It was never a top laner. He was meant to be a fucking jungler, and people try to fucking change it up, just like Dyrus. And guess what happened? It's fucking cancer. Okay?
Yeah, I was
It's
never really a
bad.
big fan of Hecarim top. I played it a little bit, but that was just like when he went through a few of the patch changes. He got buffed, and then he got nerfed pretty hard, and then he's basically just straight jungle now. No top pick really. Season four. I mean, season four was a cool year because we got to see things like Hecarim top and then Alistair top as well. Before like they got completely nerfed to their laning ability to the fact where they jungle and the other one support. So, but yeah, oh, the actual topic was the of this video. We went off on a tangent. I'm sure we'll do it a million more times. Was the fact that what the hell was Riot thinking when they drew the uh, the teams that made it out of groups. They drew the teams out of, like, I'm assuming it was that, like, glass bowl. It looked like they had Wild Turtle do it. So I mean that was already ridiculous enough. Somebody who
Fuck,
wasn't even at Worlds got to
stupid.
draw Wild Turtle of all people. So, like, they drew, and how it came out was the one seed played the one seeds, and then the two seeds played the two seeds. So how the was set up for group stage, for the knockout round, it was SKT versus RNG, a one team versus a one team. Rocks Tigers versus EDG, one team versus a one. And then, of course, we had the 2 versus 2, Samsung Galaxy versus Cloud9, H2K versus Albus Nox Luna. The main thing that I thought was so ridiculous about this is now how the semifinals are. We're seeing, like, of course, a ridiculously incredible game, SKT versus Rocks Tigers. We saw them last year, or we saw them in the last Worlds. Of course, where SKT won. We get a rematch of that, but it's only going to be a semi-final game. Like, so basically, this isn't like it's a hyped game, but it's nowhere near as hyped as if it was the the actual finals. And then
Yeah.
the other side, we see Samsung Galaxy versus H2K. So basically, we have one game that's going to be so hyped up, so crazy. The two, like, arguably the two best teams in the world going against the third seed in Korea and the versus the two seed in Europe. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, I think what would have been great is separate the ones from playing the ones, like draw how they did the pools, because how they did the pools was teams that finished in first place, for the exception of Europe, because Europe completely bombed MSI, so they gave up their number one pick
Yeah.
for Worlds. So how they did Pool A was the teams that were in first got in Pool A, second place teams got in B, and then the Taiwan teams, international wildcard teams, and the third seeds got placed in Pool C. I think it would have been so much smarter to put, like, ones versus twos the entire way down, because you would truly get the best, as opposed to comparing one versus ones and two versus twos. So now we have a one seed and a one seed versus a two seed and a two seed.
Well, I told you previously, uh, that their go-to fucking thing to say is probably gonna be, "We wanted to make it fair." Oh, you start now of all times, by the way, to make your fucking game quote unquote fucking fair. So right off the bat, that's shit. What they could have done is just tossed. I mean, we could even do it. We could go find a site, and
Yep.
just randomize. We could put the teams in and just have it random, you know. That would have been better. That would have been more interesting. It wouldn't have been fair,
Yeah.
but
I
it would
mean,
have been
like,
way more fun to see.
now I know that you're not really big into, well, League of Legends at all, and trust me, we're gonna have a video on that where you're gonna have a nice little sound off on it. But, like, you know, if there's a game that's intriguing enough for you to watch, maybe you will. But, like, wouldn't a game like, let's see, SKT versus, let's see, no, for a better term, RNG, who was the top team in their group, which was one of the top teams from China, versus Samsung Galaxy, who was second in their group. Like, I feel like that would kind of make it more evened out, as opposed to comparing ones and twos, because now we're going to have a one seed versus a two seed, a team that dominated their group enough to take first place versus a team who either barely got by or a team that just wasn't good enough to be in first place. So it's like comparing the best versus the second best. That's
Yeah, it's pretty fucking ridiculous in my opinion. You know,
Yeah.
it's just take a little time. Sit down, Riot Games, if you're listening to this. Uh, just just take that big dildo out of your ass first off, and just listen to people. Okay, read their shit on Twitch and Twitter and Facebook, whatever else. Listen to your player base. Okay, because what you did this Worlds was neat. It was neato, definitely super psychedelic, my friend. But it wasn't what people wanted. Sometimes people just want to see like a complete domination of a game,
Yeah.
like an amazing, you know, rank 1 team against like a complete underdog. Cuz if it's an underdog, obviously people are going to be like, "Oh, maybe I'll vote for the underdog side." I don't know. Who knows? Wild cards are wild. So, I feel like it could have been a better placement of the teams facing off against each other.
Yeah.
I would have rather seen like maybe a 1 seed team against like a 3. That
Right.
would have been neat because it's not like they're bad. It would have just made it more interesting. It would have kind of given it a sense of, oh my god, what are they gonna do to kind of have to compete with this number 1 team?
Yeah, it would be like, well, since groups A, B, C, and D, they only took the top two teams out of those groups. Like there was a possibility for a one versus a three, like per region. Like ADG was the first team, was the first seed coming out of China, and Samsung Galaxy was the 3 seed coming out of Korea. That would have made actually a very, very good game, as opposed to seeing Samsung Galaxy completely like mop the floor with Cloud9. Obviously, Korea and North America, two completely different levels. For years, they've been talking about how this gap has been closing between regions, and just like that, showing that is indeed false.
Just a slaughter,
Yeah,
man.
it was terrible. All 3 games, Cloud9 just got completely dumpstered. There was
I mean,
nothing.
NA teams cannot compare to any really other region. Maybe EU. I don't know because I don't know that much about those teams. But what I do know is that NA, they think they're great, but they're not that great, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. And the funny thing about NA and EU is like EU teams, like the EU number one seed was G2. They went into MSI. They went and like got completely dumpstered in their group stage. I think they went, yeah, because it actually ended up spawning the meme G2 and 8 because they went 2 and 8 and didn't even come close to making it out of MSI. And
Very
then
fancy.
and then they lost a group that they should have won because Group A had Rocks Tigers, obviously the team that everyone picked to win that because they're the number one team in Korea. Counter Logic Gaming and Albus Nox Luna, who was a international wildcard team. Granted, Albus Nox completely shocked the world. I don't think it was ridiculous, like as shocking,
Did
because
not shock me one bit.
well, the
I,
reason
I
why
knew it.
Albus, yeah, the reason why Albus Nox really didn't shock too much was because look at who was in their group: CLG, who always blows it, and then G2, who always blows the international tournaments.
Yeah, but then you got the fanboys. You're not taking into account of all the fanboys on the NA side. They will just slander every other team to make their team just seem great. And when their team loses, they're like, "Oh, what could you have done?" I don't know. Maybe not uptalk that team so fucking much. Don't put them on such a high pedestal. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you do that, it only will cause more shit to ensue. Because you're saying like TSM fanboys. Let's just take for example, because I hate TSM with a burning passion.
As do I.
they they will give their right testicle just to prove to you that TSM has got it, and look at where they are. They're fucking trash.
Yeah, I think as far as like, and I actually have like, outside of disliking their roster, disliking their team and anything, I do have a bit of respect for TSM in the League of Legends community, because you look, name a team in the NALCS that's more popular. than TSM. Like the closest would be Cloud9, and even that's not even really close. But I mean, the
Well,
fact
popularity doesn't mean shit.
that's true
It
because if
depends
you
on the fucking skill.
exactly, I mean, like you look at Faker. Faker is very popular. Why is Faker popular? Because he's a great player. Like Faker wouldn't just be popular because his name's Faker. It's the
I
fact that
mean,
he actually shows great skill.
yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not completely hating on TSM.
Right.
Obviously, that some plays have been, decent that they have done. I mean, not groundbreaking plays, but they've been kind of decent. Like any team would if you're playing for fucking money. But don't don't have your fans put you on such a high pedestal because the fall is going to be the worst thing.
That's exactly what it was because on Twitter shortly after TSM lost they had a game versus RNG. It was the very last game of Group D. The winner got to move on to the quarterfinals. The loser goes home. So it was a very high stakes game, and RNG controlled a lot of that game, won it, and I mean TSM they did show great strides this year. The fact that they got a better team at like they had a better team at Worlds than they had last year at Worlds. I mean, they had Hanser, who well, he wasn't finding too much success, uh, but he got put on TSM, and he's shown to be a great player. Obviously, he's much better than Dyrus. He doesn't overextend like Dyrus did.
And not a fucking one trick pony either.
Yeah, yeah, literally a pony. And then they have Sven Skaren, who came over from EU to replace Santorin, who was nothing but a human ward um, for TSM. And it's funny because it goes to show what kind of player Santorin really is because he's on NRG esports and he didn't do so hot then either. Of course, they still have Bjergsen, they still have Double Lift, and they replaced Yellow Star with the rookie Biofrost. I mean, rookie of the year, fantastic player. He did great. It was such an incredible um, it was like an incredible summer split from him. Like I actually picked him up on my fantasy team, and he's saved my ass so many times. Like he's actually like he's really cool, and I've found myself actually rooting for a TSM player, which was very weird because I never root for TSM, but I was rooting for Biofrost just because like here's this young kid coming out of like the challenger scene. Like he wasn't even in the challenger scene. He just got picked up by TSM out of solo queue.
Well, the issue is when you have the same people, it gets very stale. And
The ego is
I'm
what's
not
huge.
saying that the people that had to leave previous teams weren't good enough to stay.
Yeah,
They probably most certainly were. But you get to a point where you're like, oh, he's going to play the same champion. He's going to do the same build. He's going to go the same route. He's going to do the same thing. It's not really a spectacular team at that point, you know?
right. You're very one-dimensional. You're very one-sided.
Take it as like a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will. You believe in it, and then it'll happen. You know,
Right.
if you believe that Dyrus is going to play Hecarim, he most likely will play Hecarim.
Yeah, at Worlds he really didn't like perform very well on any champion at that matter. Not only just Hecarim. He just wasn't very good at any.
Well, this is going to sound stupid, but it's a young kid's game. You know what I mean?
Oh, of
And,
course.
and, and I'm not saying this game is just strictly for the younger generation. It's not. What I'm saying is when you get to a certain age, your reflexes kind of just decline,
Oh,
like
absolutely. The older you get,
a
the more
steady decline.
yep, your
And
mechanics go south.
exactly. And he was what going on almost 30, if
Who?
that.
Who? Dyrus?
Yeah,
I think Dyrus is like mid-20s, I think.
he is the most shot out 20 something year old I've ever seen then. But point still stands. Would you keep a guy that sucks at playing, or would you try and find some 18, 19 year old that is doing really well for themselves in
Yeah,
solo?
and that's exactly it. Like that's the reason why Biofrost got picked up for TSM because he was much better. Like Yellow Star was good on Fnatic. He was good at supporting Reckless. That was that was what he was good with. Um, Not so much on TSM because I mean, granted, they made it to the finals in spring. Awesome, but they ended up getting embarrassed by CLG. I mean, I was 3 games to 2, but it was the fact that CLG's wins were very dominant wins, and TSM wins were not very dominant at all. And Yellow Star found himself in some really shitty positions that he didn't find himself in on Fnatic. But the fact that you don't, you, as far as a business, you don't just keep people because you like them. You keep people because they give you results. You
Exactly.
get rid of people because they don't give you results. Like granted, Dyrus retired, but I am almost certain that if he didn't retire, he would have been either dropped or benched for somebody who's better because you play to win. You don't play. Yes, I get it. It's fun, but
But when
fun
there's
doesn't bring
a
in the
ton
money.
of money, yeah, when there's a ton of money on the line, you got to kind of put fun in your back fucking pocket. And I think Riot Games needs to take a little note of that, especially when continuously they've been just not doing well. You know,
Oh
like
God.
uh, like they're putting out these new champions, and like some of them are like hit and miss. You know, and then you got the whole worlds thing with the bracket, and I don't know what's happening with it. It just seemed very off. You know, it seemed very strategic, if you will. You
Yeah.
know, they specifically wanted these teams to face off against these other teams, and I like I said previously, I'm going to be repeating myself, but it would have been a lot more fun if they just like had a randomizer, you know, and they just put all the names on like I don't know a wheel and just spun the wheel.
Yeah. There was. Let me see if I can find it. There was a system that was put in not too long ago. I thought it was such a good system for it too. Worlds bracket stage. Let me see if this is the right one. Uh, Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna
You're gonna
make
read
sure.
me a little excerpt.
No, it's just it's a very simple, a very simple setup. They had the number one team from Group B play the number two seed of Group C. Number one in Group A plays the number two in Group D. First in C plays second in A, and D, and first in D plays second in B. So if
It just sounds more fun.
it does, because you have the opportunity to have the the best teams playing in the semifinals. You have an opportunity to have both two one seeds playing and then two one seeds playing. You have a chance to see a one seed and a two seed and two one seeds. Like putting all the one seeds in one side and then all the two. It's just heavily overloading the bracket because obviously the heavy favorite for the finals is going to be whoever wins out of Rocks Tigers and SKT. That's going to be the heavy favorite to win Worlds. So whoever wins, I'm considering this the World Championship because whoever wins that game is like 99% going to win the finals.
And you're gonna get people like, oh, it's not fair. You can't do that. It wouldn't be fair. Let me ask you a little something, everybody. When is work ever fair? Because
It,
this is their job. They're doing this. They're trying to make money by putting their game skills to the test for their job. That's their work. It's not meant to be fair. It's meant to be challenging.
yeah, which is why I
Work
think
is not easy.
which is why I think the fact that a team is going to make a lot more money because they got the benefit of a good draw. Like, and once again, as a major disclaimer, I am not an A fanboy. I'm not an EU fanboy. None. The fact that Cloud9 had to go through a team from Korea, obviously they got their ass handed to them, and H2K had to go through an international wildcard team. Come on.
Just seemed a little far fetched, you know.
Like I look at it this way: if you're a good team, you know, I guess I was should have been something like Rocks Tigers versus Albus Nox Luna. You know, kind of the David versus Goliath matchup, kind of like how major sports are. You have the high seed play, like as far as teams go. Like if you look at the NFL, for example, um, the first two teams in the conference gets a bye week, and so do the second seed. And then the third best team in that conference plays the sixth, four plays the fifth, and then the one seed plays the lowest seed remaining, and the two seed plays the highest seed remaining. I think that would have been a lot smarter to actually put these eight teams in a ranking based on how they did not only in group stage but for the entire year, and put
Yeah.
them in a bracket. One plays eight, two plays seven, kind of like that, but like kind of course kind of split it up like
Well,
on
you
two
know,
sides.
they keep trying to market this as a sport. So why shouldn't it be played like a sport?
Yeah,
You know what I
like
mean?
you
Why
don't.
shouldn't it have the bracket of an actual sports team?
The only
You know?
bracket it's really like any kind of similarity to is soccer. That's like the closest sport bracket it is. Like I don't know. I think it's. I also hate a best of three series because you look at, of course, basketball and baseball have their series. What I like about football is that you're one and done. There's no redoing a game. You bring your A game, and if you don't bring it, well, sorry, you're not going to make it to the next round.
Exactly.
Like baseball, you could like you can have an off night and then still come back and win, but now, you know, here we are, like I said a billion times, and it's still bothering me every time I say it. One seed's playing and two seeds playing. It doesn't. I guarantee you, Friday night when SK Telecom plays Rocks Tigers, there is going to be huge ratings. So many people are going to be watching this, and I guarantee you on Saturday when H2K plays Samsung Galaxy, those numbers will maybe be half, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends on how you market it, I guess. I mean, you really gotta. Ryan needs to pull out a lot of stops, I suppose, to make it seem like it's something people want to watch.
I don't know. I just think it's a little ridiculous, but I think we kind of got our point across here. Our little sound off. If you have any thing to say before we sign off.
Uh, not I. I said everything I needed to.
All right. Well, I have nothing else to say either. So thank you for watching this. If you have any questions, want to get in touch with us in any way, you can shoot us an email at the Gamers Archive Podcast at gmail.com. You could also follow us on Twitter at Gamers Archive NA. Our personal accounts, mine is at DanRL, and for Royal, it's at Royal the Loyal. Um, Things seem to be kind of calming down a little bit for us. So, we'll try to get some more content to you. Maybe not the 2 videos a week, maybe just 1 video a week for the time being. Um, Maybe like once everything gets completely settled down, we'll think about maybe doing more content um, as far as the videos are concerned. Um, but anyway, thank you all for watching, and we hope you have a very good night. Hopefully, you have a good work week. Brandon, I know you're gonna have a good week, right? 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 Right?
Wrong.
Okay. Yeah, me too. All right. Well, anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Have a good night.